Do console sales really matter that much? It's a very interesting question. It's a very interesting metric. And the answer is it does matter. It matters a lot. There's no, sidestepping the reality that if you make consoles, you got to sell them. You know what I mean? Like, not only sell them, you got to sell them to people who are willing to buy them and who are willing to spend more money in that ecosystem. However, it is not the most financially conducive ecosystem or platform for a lot of gamers to get the best benefits without, and hear me out, a good amount of games, a good amount of value that really does respect the customer's funds and respect the customer's time. So the console, question now has now come into, play with everything being so interesting. Nintendo coming out with a new console, about to launch it, asking for $449, asking for $80 for their games. We also have PlayStation raising the price of its subscription costs and also asking for more money for its hardware in certain regions. With all this in mind, I think there is something that you have to basically pay attention to, right? Think about it. This whole Xbox thing has really changed the entire game. In fact, with everything in place right now, it appears to me that if you, as a publisher, do not find a way, listen again, if you don't find a way to be creative, if you don't find a way to serve your customers, if you don't find a way to provide value, you're going to be left behind. Now, because the gaming industry is saturated, because everything is coming out. Did y'all even remember the MLB The Show came? And look, I know this sounds crazy, and I'm over here talking about Oblivion and talking about Xbox, but then all of a sudden I'm like, yo, did y'all even remember that MLB The Show came out? I don't even remember. And they've already basically started to slash the price for people who have PlayStation Plus. This game came out about a month ago. Look at this. 3/17/2025 was when MLB The Show came out. Look at the price right now on the PlayStation Store. $50 for I think this may be the big edition or something. Yeah, MLB The Show. The $70 price tag has already come down. And they're pricing it at this price point. It's a top selling game in the store, but this game actively left Game Pass this year. And already they can't wait to give it away, I'm sure. Because this game was not really a heavy seller. If you go look at the history, MLB The Show was never really a heavy seller. It seemed like just a sustainable seller, but times have been changing. The conversation at MLB said, hey man, PlayStation, we need more money, is not out of it. And they decided, in San Diego Studio looked and said, where are we going to farm more money from? So they went Game Pass and they went Xbox. But the moment they removed it from Game Pass, I saw a lot of people say, man, we're not playing with this game, bro. You know why? Do you know why? The people who were playing the game on Game Pass looked and said, nah, man, we ain't touching this. It's simply because there are games to play everywhere. So if you're not going to respect and I'm not saying that they should put it on Game Pass. It's not their prerogative. They could put it on their own PlayStation service and make it attractive. Like, you know what I mean? But the industry has come over to the place where now you're no longer, fooling anybody. You can't put wool on anybody's eyes. Everybody is seeing things clearly. All the PlayStation talking heads quietly own a Game Pass subscription after all of the talk that they would basically go ahead and put out there. We can call names if you want. If you want to go by names, if you see any of them talking about Xbox or talking about how this is this, they more than likely have a Game Pass subscription. Do you know why? Because they, as content creators, they can even feel, experience, and enjoy the value when it comes down to it. It's not something that is beyond them when you think about it, right? They really want to go ahead and enjoy what the value proposition is that Xbox has put out here. So it leads us to some of the questions that we're talking about. It leads to some of the conversations that are going on because, guys, it's all changed up, man. Let me show you something. Kami here, user on PlayStation, on Twitter. I'm sure, he plays on all platforms according to him, right? Covering PC, covers PC, Xbox, and PC and such. His comment said, Xbox first-party releases in a 6-week span from April to May. 2 months. That's crazy. South of Midnight, April 18th. Indiana Jones, PS5, April 16th. We can call that Indiana Jones release like 7 months. You just plow it all together. Oblivion Remastered, April 22nd. Overwatch Season 2, Season 6. Overwatch 2, Season 16, April 22nd, the same day. Forza Horizon 5, April 28th. That's still coming. It's a top seller on the PlayStation Store. Where is it? Right here. Diablo 4, new season, April 29th. Towerborn, April 29th. Doom: The Dark Ages, May 15th. Look at the words, kind of insane. There is no other way to qualify this kind of a content release cycle. So all of the conversations have now decided, okay, after all the talk about console sales, what has to complement console sales? Or at least precede console sales? There's a new standard in town. That new standard is you gotta have games. And currently, there's one company that is dropping games like crazy. A lot of people were looking and saying, well, we're going to buy these Nintendo games. We're going to enjoy them and all that stuff. But there are other people who are looking and saying, man, bro, we're going to buy a $449 Nintendo console when we can pay $299 and get into what Xbox is doing. I'm not saying that Xbox is going to pose a disturbance for Nintendo because there's going to be the Nintendo fanfare going on and they serve two different niches. But you have to also remember that money in the pocket is going to dictate how consumers behave. And also accessibility. That's me hitting my pocket. It's also going to detect, it's also going to go ahead and, detail how consumers are going to, approach things. And with PlayStation already being here, where if you look at their trajectory and you look at their trends, they're selling their consoles very well. They really need to make money off of their hardware because software, too expensive these days. I mean, think about it. They're over here repackaging The Last of Us with a complete edition and such, to sell again. It's also a top seller. People are buying it, right? Because that's the way that they got to go. They could port these games to Xbox, but nope. In their minds, Xbox doesn't exist. Or they want to pretend Xbox doesn't exist. The only problem is Xbox is all over their ecosystem. Now, Xbox is basically wrapping itself around them like a boa constrictor, feeding in their own ecosystem, basically getting stronger, siphoning money off of their own players, while at the same time using it to pretty much subsidize its own ecosystem and keep its own consumers happy. At the same time, consumers outside of the Xbox ecosystem are looking in. And that's the difference. If they look in, what are they going to see? And I don't think many people have asked this question enough. What are they going to see when they look in? Are they going to see something that, is disconnected from reality? Or are they going to see something that is insane? Because as Kami put this release window thing under first party releases and said that that's insane, he didn't even talk about him being on Game Pass, which would be a different layer of insanity if you actually think about it. Are you telling me that a lot of people who are seeing this stuff are not even saying, okay, this is interesting? Now, check this out. Mooch TV, a PlayStation aficionado, says third-party publisher power. I bet you he's got a Game Pass subscription. I bet you he has a Game Pass subscription. There's no doubt about it. I'm telling you, because that's what they want to do. They want to act like they're console warring. This laughing emoji is a shame that PlayStation can't deliver something similar. Look at this person. Only 2 new games. 1 mid and one super buggy. The rest are re-releases or live service updates. This person has buried their head in the sand because as the tide is rolling, they know, but they want to downplay. That's all they can do. They're almost like robots. They know that as it's coming, more games coming from PlayStation, if you're looking at the pre-orders, are coming into their ecosystem. Doom: The Dark Ages, it's coming. The Tony Hawk game, it's also coming. You know what I mean? They know, but why would they want to ever Why would they want to ever acknowledge that it's actually a thing? The Age of Mythology, Age of Empires Premium Edition, it's coming. They know. They know. But you already see them. Agents of Downplay. That's their name. Right? Putting up a post and saying third-party publisher power. That's literally what a podcaster can say instead of saying, where is PlayStation's proposition? Can you imagine that? This person said, well, when you acquire a game publisher, I mean, PlayStation also tried to acquire, a game publisher here and there and is investing in another publisher, Kadokawa. And, that's not, bearing the fruit that they would like for it to. In fact, after putting more money into Kadokawa, they realized, Kadokawa is basically, and they're from software, is making a game for Nintendo. Okay? Someone said getting them all out before GTA 6. Ain't nothing wrong with that. At least they got the balls to do so. At least they have the games to get out. PlayStation folks should be kissing Phil Spencer's rear for porting all these. I can only imagine the amount of whining they'd be doing right now if Xbox hadn't, according to this person, bent the knee. No. This talk about bending the knee, that's the console fanboy brain that's not letting you think outside of the box. Does that make sense? It's a paradigm that's not letting these people think outside of the box. This person said, props to Xbox and cultivating, Xbox and cultivating these studios for these high-profile releases, but also I think their cadence has been pretty bad. Oh, wow. With people having extensive backlogs, I don't know how release strategy like this guarantees purchases or play anytime. I mean, eventually, yeah, but seems off. Caleb Johnston, what are you talking about? You can simply go and look at the data. You can simply go look at those who are actually playing the game. In the face of your comment that you made, the Oblivion game that showed up basically in one afternoon has already outclassed on Steam the new Assassin's Creed game. With a release cadence like that, you need to understand that not every gamer is going to play every game. Is anybody looking at the data? SteamDB. Let's look at games of a similar class, right? That would be Dragon Age the Veilguard. Right? Let's look at what Dragon Age the Veilguard did when it came to its own Steam charts. Right? Let's look at the chart history. Game charts, 89,418 was the peak on Steam. The game was not on Game Pass at the time. Now they've put it on EA Play. If you have Ultimate, you get it. But if you look at the Oblivion Remastered, right? The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, right now, after the peak from yesterday, it's dropped to similar to what Dragon Age has done. And it's basically over double in terms of its player peak what Dragon Age the Veilguard did. Now, this is not an indication of sales, but hey, we're not going to sit here and talk about how Dragon Age the Veilguard did not basically get thrown under the bus by its own, CEO in their financial statements. So again, you see all this, right? If you see all these people, you're going to start thinking now, if you notice, even if you take out the PS5 release of India Forza, it's still mighty impressive. It is. Why? Because even without all these people complaining, PlayStation has nothing close to this. Like this Helldivers person over here. Only 2 new games. Only. Does PlayStation even have any new games so far? Like if you look at Mooch saying third-party publisher power. Is PlayStation not a third-party publisher with their MLB The Show that they're already putting on, Xbox and putting on sale? And their Helldivers game that is already on there, and there are other games that are going to come to, PC? Again, if you notice, I started out this video asking how important console sales are. The conversation is deviated from console sales. By the time they publish their next console sales report, PlayStation, right? Think about it. By the time they publish the console sales, report, players are not going to be measuring their enjoyment by the number of boxes sold. They're going to be measuring their enjoyment by the number of games accessible to them. We'll continue to watch and see. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.